They say there's no more shirtism left in the US, but I know that's not true. I still face plenty of prejudice because of the color of my shirt. Hopefully, I'll run into that guy again so I can talk to him about his prejudice. I'll tell him that prejudice is making assumptions about an individual based on beliefs, accurate or inaccurate, about a group to which they are perceived to belong. I'll tell him that prejudice is made up of three parts: the emotional component, like anger, warmth, or hostility; the cognitive component, the thoughts that come to your mind when you think about a pink shirt; and the behavioral component, actions. I'll make sure to teach him the difference between stereotyping, which is the cognitive component, and discrimination, which is the action component. And finally, I'll show him that even though it seems like there's no more shirtism left today, there very much is, but modern shirtism is much more subtle. Hey man, this is the second time I've seen you today, and both times you seemed kind of uncomfortable. Is it because of my pink polo? It's okay if it is. Society imbued you with those prejudices. They don't make you a bad person.
No, I am not a shirtist. I don't use slurs. I don't beat up people in pink polos. I know you're just as good as I am.
Interesting that you should say that. That's actually a fallacy that people often fall into when thinking about shirtism. There's actually a lot in this country.
No way. I learned about the case of Warren v. Abercrombie and Fitch in school. The Supreme Court said that if they were going to sell shirts, they had to sell all colors, including pink. And that was back in 1946. There can't possibly be shirtism today, 70 years later.
That's another fallacy. It's called the legalistic fallacy. You're conflating de jure segregation with de facto segregation. Sure, every store had to start carrying pink shirts, but go into an upscale one like Nordstrom. You can see for yourself that they hardly sell any. Then go to Walmart or Costco. It's almost impossible to find a pink shirt. That's because people in pink shirts still don't have nearly as much money as, say, people who wear blue or green shirts, mainly because they're not in high-paying positions, nearly as much as the other shirt colors.
But speaking of Costco, did you see the cover of Time magazine last week? They interviewed Costco's CEO, and he was wearing a pink polo.
That's the tokenistic fallacy. Sure, the CEO of Costco wears a pink shirt, but look at the rest of the Fortune 500 companies. There are only 4 other pink shirt CEOs. That's 1%. That's because only 30% of pink shirt wearers graduate from university, as opposed to 65% of other shirt colors.
What? Why? It's been 120 years since they finally started admitting people wearing pink shirts in the universities. There's no way that still affects anything.
Actually, it does. You fall into another fallacy, called the ahistorical fallacy. Even so long after the end of education deprivation, pink shirt families are still struggling to catch up. The other shirt colors got a huge head start.
Okay, you've convinced me. Shirtism does still exist, but it's getting better, isn't it? Here, look. The New York Times says fewer pink polo-wearing people were killed in hate crimes last year than in the previous 15.
That's the fixed fallacy. You see, shirtism takes many forms, and to only focus on one, even an important one like the rate of hate crimes, is to ignore all the other important indicators of pink-shirted persons' experience in this country today. For example, the proportion of incarcerated pink shirts relative to the overall population is the highest it's been since 1972.
Okay. Shirtism is still a big problem in the US. But why did you single me out for this lesson? I'm not shirtist. I don't use slurs or beat people up for wearing pink. I have plenty of friends who wear pink shirts.
And that's the last and possibly most dangerous fallacy, the individualistic fallacy. Just because you don't do those blatantly shirtist things doesn't mean you don't hold prejudices and can ignore the problem. There's a huge difference between what you were just saying you don't do, discrimination, and what I saw you do earlier, stereotyping. Remember when you saw me earlier today?
Yeah.
Well, you made a face and walked away as soon as you saw my pink shirt, the sea of blue and green and other colors. A pink shirt stereotype probably occurred to you unconsciously. Possibly that everybody in a pink polo will try to pick your pocket.
All right, you convinced me. I've learned about the 5 fallacies of shirt color domination. I've learned that shirtism is very subtle in the modern world, but still a problem. And I've learned about the difference between prejudice, stereotyping, and discrimination. Thank you.
You're welcome. Want to go get some coffee?
Sure.